Welcome to day 7, part 2 of my South Island Adventure trip in November 25. Today I'm going to cover the details of the Hakataramea Pass Track. I will put the full details of this review in the description. In this particular day, the reason I went to the Hakataramea Pass was, one, I hadn't done it before and I wanted to do it, and two, it was kind of a pre-scouting trip in respect to checking out Black Forest Station and also Mackenzie Pass, which you can get to at the end of this specific track. The weather on this particular afternoon, because it was an afternoon ride after my early morning Danseys Pass ride, was still slightly overcast but mainly fine. There was again no real wind to speak of. Like many high country basin rides in New Zealand, the Hakataramea Valley experience can have extreme weather variations, from winter being as low as -10 to the peak of summer being as high as 35 degrees. So you want to make sure that you're planning for whatever those weather conditions are before you go into this particular track. How did I get there? Well, as I said, I came out on this particular day from Danseys Pass and I headed northwest on State Highway 83 to Kuro, where I stopped and had a very pleasant lunch and a coffee before getting back on the road to Hakataramea Pass via State Highway 82. It's about 40 to 50 minutes, 42 kilometres to get to the gravel or the real meat of the Hakataramea Pass trail. History. This was very early on a Maori route. The valley served as a traditional Maori pathway, but the details are less than documented, but that's what I understand. The Europeans arrived in 1860. It was a large pastoral run and established by New Zealand Australian Land Company. Basically, I think it went freehold in 1878. The valley is obviously farming focused and traditionally continues alongside cropping and deer farming, despite the challenging conditions of the valley. The pass also was planned to be a road/railway bridge in 1881, a crucial link between Kuro and the Hakataramea Pass to facilitate transport and settlement in that particular area, but I don't think it ever quite eventuated. The track type. The track was dirt/gravel. The first half of the track is pretty easy going, long, straight, flat areas. Then you climb and the track becomes a little bit more bumpy and undulating and a little bit more challenging. The difficulty of this is predominantly the second half, where you need to traverse through, 7 or so sort of streams. They aren't very challenging, but I guess if there was a lot of rain, that might actually change. Overall, I'd rate this as a beginner with intermediate if you're a bit nervous about going through small streams. The distance of this particular ride is 40.6 kilometres and expect to take you between 50 and 60 minutes. The elevation, I think basically the height is 960 metres or 3,150 feet. The key scenic callouts for this are that it's, again, the first half was mainly farmland, but the second half was mostly mountain pass with tussock and very pleasant views down the valley to the surrounding hills and mountains, which on this particular day had lots of fresh snow sitting on the tops of those ranges. Any place to camp? Well, there is actually accommodation that you can arrange at Black Forest Station. Traffic on this particular November day, the traffic was light. I basically encountered more motorbikes coming the other way than I did vehicles. Gates, I remember, and hopefully we'll see this in the video footage, that there was one gate at the top of the pass that you had to open and close. And so that's basically a summary of the Hakataramea Pass. I will now let you watch the video of me traversing through the pass. Enjoy.